All right, everybody, buckle up, because today we are diving into the world of secret societies.
Secret societies.
Yeah,
Then,
and their alternative take on history.
yes. Okay,
We're going to be cracking open Mark Booth's The Secret History of the World,
excellent.
a book that will leave you questioning
Yeah.
pretty much everything you thought you knew about, well, everything.
I think that's a good way to put it.
Right.
Yeah.
So to jump right in,
Please.
this book talks about how secret societies throughout history have viewed the universe in a radically different way than most of us do today.
Yeah, what we're dealing with here is a completely different way of seeing the universe, one that flips our modern assumptions upside down.
Okay, thicken.
Imagine a reality where mind precedes matter, where thoughts aren't just these fleeting things, but have the actual power to shape reality.
So instead of this microphone just existing as a physical thing,
Yeah.
it's actually the manifestation of a thought.
That's it. That's the idea.
Whoa, that's wild.
It might sound radical, but that's the gist. Think of it this way. The scientific view says Big Bang, then matter, then eventually, after billions of years, consciousness pops up.
Right.
But secret societies, they had this whole other idea, a cosmic mind that predates the physical universe altogether.
Okay, so before anything else,
Before anything else,
there's this mind.
this cosmic mind, yeah, this primal mind.
Wait.
Let's just call it God, to give it a familiar name. This God kickstarts this whole chain reaction of creation, a cascade of thoughts, or emanations, as they're sometimes called.
Okay, so break down these emanations for me.
Oh.
I'm picturing something kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen like those time lapses of crystals growing.
Sure.
They just kind of seem to appear out of nowhere, as if some blueprint is guiding their formation.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
That gets right to the heart of it. Imagine a thought so powerful that it ripples outwards, creating waves of energy. And then those waves, they solidify into matter. That's kind of how secret societies viewed emanations.
Okay.
And each emanation, packed with intelligence and purpose, sets the stage for the next. It's like a hierarchy, almost like well, think about how today some AI researchers like Kevin Warwick are building robots that can actually design and build even more complex machines.
Hold on. Are we talking about thought beings here?
We are.
Beings made entirely of thought, influencing our world from, like, another dimension.
Precisely. And it's not just some wacky idea confined to secret societies. Think about the Tibetan practice of creating tulpas. Thought forms they believe can take on a life of their own.
Right. Like tulpas.
Exactly. Or even something like the surrealist art movement. Artists like Marcel Duchamp, with his ready-mades, they believe that everyday objects could become packed with meaning and even influence reality, all through how we perceive them.
Speaking of perception bending,
Yeah.
it reminds me of that mind-blowing physics concept. What do they call it?
Schrodinger's cat.
Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah.
Where just observing something can influence what happens.
Exactly. It all points to this idea that consciousness and the material world are intertwined, which was a core belief for secret societies. They believe that our thoughts, emotions, everything going on in our minds, it could actually influence the physical world around us.
So you're saying if I'm flipping a coin
Mm-hmm.
and really hoping for heads,
Yeah.
my desire could actually influence the outcome.
Well, it's not quite that straightforward, but the idea is that our minds aren't just passive bystanders. We are active participants, shaping reality in ways we're only beginning to understand.
Okay,
Yes.
this is where it gets really interesting. Okay, so our minds are shaping reality.
Shaping reality.
But what happens when those minds
Yeah.
experience the world in a completely different way?
That is a very important question. You see, for people in the ancient world, the lines were blurred. Objects weren't so clearly defined. And there was this sense of the sacred woven into everything.
Yeah.
Look at their depictions of trees, for instance. They often lack the realistic detail that we'd expect today.
It's like they were seeing beyond the physical form, you know,
Exactly.
tapping into some kind of deeper essence.
Yeah.
Can you imagine walking through an ancient forest and feeling this palpable energy, like the trees themselves were aware of your presence, maybe even whispering secrets to you?
I can only imagine.
Places like Newgrange, that ancient site in Ireland, must have felt like a portal to another realm.
Absolutely. The ancient world was a place where the veil between the physical and the spiritual was incredibly thin.
Right.
Everything held a deeper significance, often tied to the human body.
Right.
They saw our own anatomy reflected in nature, lungs mirroring the shape of birds. intestines echoing the form of worms.
It's like they understood this deep interconnectedness between us and the natural world.
Exactly, they did.
And it wasn't just about the physical resemblance, right?
Right, no.
They took those connections further, linking celestial bodies to aspects of life down here on Earth.
Absolutely.
Like how the sharp points of pine needles were associated with Saturn's influence.
Exactly. This idea of interconnectedness was central to their entire worldview. Everything was woven into this grand cosmic tapestry, guided by an intelligence beyond our immediate grasp.
So we still see like little glimpses of this today, like with things like biorhythms.
They do.
But they believed in these incredibly nuanced rhythms, influencing everything from each breath we take
Yeah,
to the length of our lives.
absolutely.
So we're talking about a connection that goes beyond the physical, a connection of consciousness itself.
Precisely. They believed in this concept of shared thoughts, a collective consciousness that permeated everything. Think of a flock of birds turning in unison. They didn't see that as just instinct. It was as if a single thought was moving through the entire flock.
Wow.
That's how they understood the teachings of their spiritual masters, too. A deep sense of unity and shared understanding.
That's a far cry from how we experience thought today.
It is.
We tend to think of our minds as these private sanctuaries, our thoughts belonging solely to us.
And yet, haven't you had those moments where an idea seems to appear out of thin air, a sudden stroke of inspiration?
Oh, yeah.
We say, it struck me or it occurred to me, as if the thought came from outside of ourselves.
Like when the perfect comeback pops into your head during an argument, fully formed. You might take credit for it, but it really feels like it came from somewhere else.
In the ancient world, that somewhere else was often attributed to a god, a spirit, a being from another realm.
But they believed in these thought beings, influencing individuals, shaping thoughts, actions, maybe even destinies.
Which makes you wonder, what would it be like to experience the world with that kind of interconnectedness?
It would be fascinating, wouldn't it?
To see that kind of meaning woven into every experience.
It would certainly challenge our modern assumptions about reality, wouldn't it?
For sure.
And speaking of challenging assumptions, maybe it's time we explore how these ancient teachings intersect with a question that's captivated modern science, the idea of a simulated reality. A simulated reality. Okay, now we're going full Matrix here.
You could say that.
But seriously,
Yeah.
how does this idea even connect back to secret societies and their beliefs?
It's a fascinating link, actually. We've been talking about this ancient view of the world as this place teeming with meaning, guided by a force beyond our comprehension, right?
Right.
Now, what if that guiding force wasn't some ethereal being, but something more akin to, well, a programmer?
Okay.
I know it might sound out there, but even in the science world, there are whispers of this.
Really?
Yeah. Just recently, Sir Martin Rees, the astronomer royal, put forward this thought-provoking idea. What if our universe is actually an incredibly sophisticated simulation?
Whoa, that's like something straight out of science fiction, like those mind-bending stories by Philip K. Dick.
Exactly.
I mean, Blade Runner really makes you question what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild to think that these modern stories might be echoing something that ancient cultures already had an inkling about.
And here's where it gets even more interesting. Remember those thought beings we were discussing earlier?
Yeah.
Well, according to those ancient teachings, not all of them were necessarily looking out for us.
Oh, okay.
They believed in this kind of moral ambiguity, acknowledging the existence of benevolent beings like, gods and angels, but also malevolent ones like demons, all capable of influencing our reality.
So let me get this straight.
Yeah.
Not only might we be living in a simulation, but the programmers behind it might not all be friendly.
It's a possibility, isn't it?
Okay, now that's a bit unsettling.
It definitely adds another layer to the mystery, doesn't it? It raises all sorts of questions about free will, the nature of good and evil, and ultimately our place in this grand cosmic scheme of things.
It's almost as if we have a choice in how we experience the world. We can see it as this cold, indifferent machine, or as a place imbued with deeper meaning, guided by forces we may never fully grasp.
A choice, perhaps, between clinging to the limitations of our current scientific understanding or opening ourselves up to the possibility of a reality that's a bit more, shall we say, magical, a reality where there's more to discover than we could ever imagine.
So, to bring it back to our listeners, the next time you find yourself questioning the nature of reality, remember those ancient teachings. Look for the hidden connections, the synchronicities that make you wonder, what if? You might just start to see the world through a whole new lens. And who knows, maybe you'll uncover your own piece of the secret history of the world. That's it for our deep dive today. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the mysteries of the universe and the human mind. Until next time, keep exploring.